Microsoft's strategy going into the next generation was a hotly debated topic. On the one end of the spectrum, the platform holder opted to tempt early adopters in with the hugely impressive Xbox Series X, a console that proves to be a powerhouse in all aspects. On the flip side though, the Xbox Series S offers consumers the chance to enter next gen at a ridiculously low price. By launch console standards, of course. Quite whether it cuts the mustard though, however, depends on your expectations. Compared to its big brother, the Xbox Series S focuses more on next-gen speed rather than next-gen power. With a slightly lower CPU, a significantly weaker GPU, 4 teraflops compared to the Xbox Series X mighty 12. Incidentally, the Xbox One X had a 6 teraflop GPU. The Xbox Series S, using the same proprietary custom-built SSD as the Series X, shows where its priorities lie. So, while the Series S visuals might not compare to the Xbox Series X or even that of the One X, the lightning-fast SSD rivals its sister console, not just in terms of boot speed, but load speeds and transfer speeds as well. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for instance, loads up in the crack of a whip. The digital-only console does away with a Blu-ray drive to cut costs further, and for $300, £250, you can't grumble at the micro next-gen package Microsoft has put together. It's the perfect entry price into next-gen for those who aren't bothered about the technical side of things, or for anyone looking to game on a budget. And while you can't grumble at the performance of Microsoft's adorable unit, you can perhaps take issue with the game's internal storage, which comes in at a measly 364GB of usable space. That said, considering the Series X itself only comes with 802GB of usable space, it's hardly a surprise that a console effectively half its price would come with half its storage. Perhaps the most expensive component in the new console. While the Xbox Series X, for all intents and purposes, magically fixed last-gen games with broken frame rates, the Series S also manages to do so, but does little to boost uncapped titles. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, for instance, which hits anywhere between 40 and 60 FPS on the Series X, is a solid 30 FPS on the Series S, which is a lot like the Xbox One X. Meanwhile, games like Anthem and Control that did struggle on last generation consoles are rock solid on Microsoft's more budget console. While Microsoft's Xbox One X and Series X are native 4K machines, the Series S seems to be shooting for 1440p as its base, with a boost in frame rates, matching its sister unit. Or at least that's theoretically how it should pan out. For instance, while Yakuza Like a Dragon runs at either 4K 30 or 1440p 60 on the Series X, depending on what mode you pick, the Series S offers 1440p at 30, 900p at 60. That said, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which runs at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X, only runs at 30 FPS on the Xbox Series S. So, presently, there's no pattern really between the games on the Xbox Series S versus the Xbox Series X. It should be mentioned though that the Xbox Series S can run certain games up to 120 FPS, so it's a disappointment that it can't even run Valhalla at 60, not even at 1080p, like the Series X, which does it at 4K. In fact, I'd go as far as to say thus far that if you do own an Xbox One X, the Xbox Series S might be a step backwards for you. Well, when the Xbox One X is 2 teraflops more powerful and more expensive, this should come as a surprise to no one. Complementing the next-gen speeds, of course, is also the next-gen Quick Resume, which allows users to suspend game states for later usage. And like on the Series X, it's fantastic here too. The Xbox Series S also allows for ray tracing, so while it might not have the resolution to match either the One X or the Series X, the wee chappy is trying to forge its own path. As a unit though, the Xbox Series S is absolutely tiny, and the design is slick, clean, and a lot more aesthetically pleasing than its big boxy cousin. It's the kind of box that is so interestingly designed that you're not going to hide it behind a TV because of how gaudy it is. In our experience thus far in running newer titles like Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it also remains as silent as a church mouse. If the Xbox Series X then is Microsoft's and possibly the world's most powerful console, its sister console, the Xbox Series S, is the attractive one. Attractive next-gen load speeds for an incredibly attractive price. But visually, the beauty is clearly on the inside. Metaphorically, of course. How you react to the Xbox Series S and its capabilities depends on your own next-gen expectations. For us, to expect anything close to the Xbox Series X was never on our minds. Not for $300 or £250, no, but instead we expected a small, neat bundle of joy that represents solid value for money. And at that price, you can't grumble. And in that regard, the Xbox Series S has delivered in spades.